Good morning, day 12 on the Palmetto Trail. I am leaving from Croft State Park. We stayed another night at the campground here. I got to have a shower. Life is good. This park really caters to horses. They have huge horse barns and tons of people come with their huge horse trailers. But ironically, I never see one horse on the trail that I've been walking. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen anybody on these trails. It's pretty incredible. I get them all to myself, even though this is a fairly popular park. So I'm grateful for that, but very curious why others aren't on the trail. Anyways, I'm leaving this park today. The trail is gonna take me out of here, but I've enjoyed it very much. In the last few hikes, we learned how Gideon tested God and defeated the Midianites, but he was not a perfect man. He had 70 sons from various wives, and one of his sons was from a concubine who lived in Shechem, and his name was Abimelech, which means my father is king. Wow. The Palmetto Trail crosses this bridge. Oh, this is gorgeous. So many trail options, but I get to go this way. This is called the Outlaw Trail. After Gideon died, Abimelech went to the men of Shechem and said, "Hey, would you rather be ruled over by 70 of Gideon's sons, or would you rather just one reign over you? And remember, I am your own flesh and blood." The people chose Abimelech to rule over them, and so they gave him 70 shekels from their pagan temple so that he could hire some worthless and reckless yahoos to follow him to his father's house at Ophrah. And there he killed his 70 brothers on one stone. These brothers inherited Gideon's leadership and property. Abimelech did not share in the inheritance because his mother was only a concubine. Undoubtedly, he was jealous, so he appealed to his Shechemite relatives to help in eliminating his brothers and therefore taking possession of leadership and transferring it to Shechem. This showed extreme ingratitude to the family of Gideon, the deliverer of Israel. However, the youngest son, whose name was Jotham, escaped and hid himself. Then they made Abimelech king. This was the first experiment with Israelite kingship long before Saul. Jotham was told about this, so he went to the top of Mount Gerizim and lifted his voice and cried out and spoke a parable.
"Listen to me, you men of Shechem, that God may listen to you. The trees once went forth to anoint a king over them, and they said to the olive tree, 'Reign over us.' But the olive tree said to them, 'Should I cease giving my oil, with which they honor God and men, and go to sway over trees?' Then the tree said to the fig tree, 'You come and reign over us.' But the fig tree said to them, 'Should I cease my sweetness and my good fruit, and go sway over trees?' Then the trees said to the vine, 'You come and reign over us.' But the vine said to them, 'Should I cease my new wine, which cheers both God and men, and go to sway over trees?' Then all the trees said to the bramble, 'You come and reign over us.' And the bramble said to the trees, 'If in truth you anoint me as king over you, then come and take shelter in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon.'"
And now I am on the Glen Springs Passage. I'm making progress. which means a road walk now, because Glen Springs is a town. Allegories of this sort, in which inanimate things speak and act, were loved by the people of antiquity. Mount Gerizim was next to Shechem, and this is the place where earlier the Israelites had recited the covenant blessings. So it was a fitting location to speak on loyalty. From there, the Shechemites could hear Jotham's pointed parable and curse on the relationship between Abimelech and Shechem, but he was out of range for their ability to harm or catch him. Jotham also said, in a nutshell, for fire to come down and devour the men of Shechem and Abimelech. Then he ran away and fled. After Abimelech ruled over Israel for 3 years, God sent a spirit of ill will between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. So they set an ambush against him on the tops of the mountains, and they robbed anyone who came by them. A guy by the name of Gaal comes onto the scene. He got drunk and challenged the men of Shechem, "Who is this Abimelech that we should serve him? If only you were under my authority, then I would remove Abimelech." When Zebul, the ruler of Shechem, heard these words from Gaal, his anger was aroused, and he told Abimelech secretly that Gaal was fortifying the city against him. So Abimelech divided his men into 4 companies and lay in wait for Gaal to come out. When Gaal stood at the entrance of the city gate and saw all the men coming out, Zebul challenged him to go out and fight. So they fought, and Abimelech managed to chase Gaal out of Shechem, but many fell wounded at the entrance of the gate. The next day, the rest of the people of Shechem went out into the field, but Abimelech was ready for them, and again they were lying in wait. He and part of his men rushed the city and killed the people and demolished it, and then he sprinkled it with salt. This was a symbolic act to express the wish that it might be barren and uninhabitable forever. This is my view right now. So I might as well be talking at you. Apparently there was a tower that was still standing in Shechem, and there was men inside, and Abimelech heard about it. He and his men cut down a bough each and put it on the tower and then set it all on fire, and 1,000 people died that were on that tower. Then he went on to another town called Thebes and battled it. And then he went on to another town and burned it down as well. But a woman dropped a millstone on his head and crushed his skull. He quickly called to his armor bearer and instructed him to draw his sword to kill him, because he did not want to be known as someone a woman had killed. And so that's what happened. Thus God repaid the wickedness of Abimelech, and all the evil of the men of Shechem God returned on their own heads. Oh, it's opened up now. I get to walk in rural South Carolina. Well, I made it to Glen Springs, and there's its old post office from 1900. And the Episcopalian Church. The parish was established in 1848, and this church was built in 1896. I'm on kind of a busy road, but there is some beauty to it. Wow, look what we have here. I looked up and here's my sign. This is so lovely for private property owners to let the trail go through their property. And what a difference walking in the woods makes. Not near so hot. The writer of the book of Judges felt deeply that God controlled the events of history, punishing both individual and national crimes. The murderer of the sons of Gideon upon one stone is killed by a stone striking his head, whereas the wicked Shechemites, who used temple money to hire assassins of good men, were burned in the same temple by the one who they aided in the deed. The curse of Jotham had been completely fulfilled. Oh, I have to somehow get across this. What goes around comes around. May that be a lesson for us to only do good, and then good shall come back to us. Okay, I'm done with the Glen Springs passage, and now we have to drive a ways to the next passage. Now, for some reason, the Palmetto Trail wants us to do the Blackstock Battlefield passage. So we had to drive about half an hour to get here. And my mom's coming with me on this little hike. It's 1.3 miles. I've already did almost 7 miles earlier. November 20, 1780, near this spot was fought the Battle of Blackstock. Can just imagine all the soldiers out there. I'll get my mom as a Palmetto Trail hiker yet. She's so scared of snakes. Oh, a nice river. So gorgeous. Full circle. And now we drive to the next passage, but that will be for tomorrow's hike.